What's up, everybody? It's your boy DJ Salt and Peppa Shaka, and welcome to episode 181 of the Reel Me In, a movie podcast. On this week's episode, Joel and I will review Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 and commentate on the week that is in movie news and movie trailers. I have a serious question to ask you guys. Do you think it's wrong to have images of Gamora from Guardians of the Galaxy in your spank bank? You know, it is kind of weird. She is a green alien woman, but she is still a woman, so I don't think it's that weird, right? What about Rocket? Well, that's just kind of fucked up because he's a raccoon. You know what I'm saying? So, what do you guys think Joel and I will think of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2? I think you're just going to have to sit down, relax, and find out. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Reel Me In, a movie podcast, where you didn't really ask for it, but hey, we're going to give it to you anyways. If you are new, welcome. What this podcast is we talk about anything, everything, and, well, anything about movies. And hey, listen, if you were searching on the internet for, just something really random, and you accidentally came across this, just randomly clicked on it, or you were curious at why the fuck this podcast is named the way it is and whatnot, you clicked on it and you're not a movie fan, well, hopefully my co-host and I can convince you to be one. This is episode 181, guys, and I'm really excited. It's comic book week, and we're ready to get this done. But welcome if you are a returning listener, or subscriber, whatever. And if you are new, what we do in the rundown is we'll go over some movie news, some trailers, and then have our reviews of the movie of the weekend's choice, and then box office results. The weekend movie for this week is the Guardians of the Galaxy Vol 2, not Volume 2 because it's spelled VOL.2. I mean, so you gotta pronounce it for what it is. I don't know why people are saying Volume 2. It's Vol 2. Anyways, that is the movie for discussion this week. But before we get into all that wonderful stuff, Joel, what is going on?
Oh, not much. A lot of stuff going on for me this week. It was a busy week. I'm excited to talk about this movie for sure. So, but busy week in a personal life sense. So, but slow news week. We'll get to that. Very very slow news week.
It was one of those weeks where it was like, hey, we had this big release coming out this weekend, and then Hollywood decided to be a flaccid penis and not have anything for the entire week. But whatever. I'm doing pretty well. It's another week. Mine was just as stressful, maybe even worse than Joel's. But what I was telling Joel is just that it doesn't matter how bad the week gets. You guys are amazing, and I love doing this for you guys every single week, bringing you all this stuff. So does Joel, and so speaking of that, let's begin. Movie news time, Joel. Joel, did you know, I don't know if you knew this, did you know that in 3 weeks, Logan comes out on Blu-ray and DVD combo pack, and it also comes out on digital HD streaming in 2 weeks? Did you have any inkling of this?
I didn't realize it was that close. I figured it was coming, but I didn't know that it was that close. That's awesome. I can't wait to buy that.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm really pumped to get it. So well, first of all, I have to comment on one thing. First of all, I don't think I've ever seen a movie within 2 months of its release come out on Blu-ray, but that's just awesome. Thank you, 20th Century Fox. But the news is that James Mangold, this crafty son of a bitch, he keeps teasing us on his Twitter page. He keeps putting up these beautiful black and white photos of Logan. He's just like, guys, what do you think of this? And people are, going crazy in the comment section going, oh my god, is there going to be a black and white version? Well, it is confirmed that there will be a black and white version for one night only, with a Q&A live stream afterwards on May 16th of Logan. I will not see it because I will save my money to get it on Blu-ray. However, I'm hoping, and fingers crossed, that 20th Century Fox puts the black and white version and the regular version on the Blu-ray. That would be fucking spectacular, and not wait 5 years like Mad Max Fury Road did. But anyways, to the actual news story of the black and white version. I said this when the movie came out, and I'll say it again. I even said it when Joel was starting to come on the podcast as a regular, is that when you look at the movie, the way it is shot and the way it's kind of constructed, for the most part, I would say like 80% of the movie, it looks like it would do really well in black and white. There were a couple of shots that kind of made me scratch my head and be like, does it really work in black and white? But for the most part, when you start to really kind of think about it in your head and you get to see those images online, it actually makes sense to put this in black and white. And I really actually do like the color palette of the movie, and I like the black and white kind of images we've seen. So I'm excited to kind of see this black and white version to see how it compares to the color version and see if it's actually superior. Maybe there's a different type of emotional connection to black and white film, because I know it's something that's very trivial as a color change, but that can drastically affect a film. So I'm really curious to see what they're going to kind of do in terms of the black and white. They're going to be a lot more, crushed blacks or really kind of soft whites and grays. I mean, how is it going to play from scene to scene? Because James Mangold on his Twitter said this wasn't like a simple technique that you just, turn the contrast all the way down or, inverse the colors and just make it black and white and you're done. He said that you had to do each individual shot and kind of, meticulate it with, the tools of editing, I guess. So, I've been praising this for 2 months, and I'm glad it's actually going to hit theaters for one night only, and I'm excited to hear people's reactions to the black and white version, and hopefully it will be on the Blu-ray release. Joel, I remember we talked about this one. We did the Logan episode, but, it has been 2 months. I don't know if your mind has changed. Are you curious to see a black and white version of this?
I'm sort of cautiously optimistic. I think that it could work. You're right in that there's a long stretch of time near most of the beginning, really, where it could be in black and white. However, I think that you're also right in that some of the scenes will look odd. There's that slow motion, the intentionally slow motion action scene, where you know what happens. Anyway, I'm not going to spoil anything, but it's slow motion, not in camera work, but in tension. The characters are having to move slowly, or are completely paused, and I think that might fall flat. I think that part of that is based on the color palette. I think that it hits as hard as it does because of that. So I'm cautiously optimistic. I might have to make my way out for this, though. I'm certainly wanting to see the movie again on the big screen. That would be a lot of fun. I was a big fan of it, and so cautious optimism. I think that in some cases it could go wrong, but Mangold's a risk taker, so I'm not surprised that this is going to happen. So.
Yeah, sure. I mean, the whole movie was a risk. I mean, when you have, like, the R rating, you have, actually, that was the risk. When you take a character that's been in this PG-13 realm for so long, you throw it into this R-rated universe, that's a huge risk for any studio. And if this movie did not make as much money as it did, I don't think 20th Century Fox would have allowed Mangold to come back and pay the extra kind of little side dough to do a black and white version. So that's really great that this movie made enough money to actually have this come to fruition. Speaking of 20th Century Fox, Joel, what were you gonna say?
Oh, I was just gonna reiterate what you said. So go ahead.
Oh no, I was just it was a perfect segue because I was like, Joel, speaking of 20th Century Fox, we are going to go see Alien Covenant on Wednesday, which we are both super excited about. But Joel, what's the next piece of news that kind of correlates with that?
Yeah, so Ridley Scott has kind of said that the Alien 5, directed by Neil Blomkamp, which has been, sort of hinted at for years now, is kind of dead. And I feel like this is a good thing. I'm sort of two minds though, because I think that I loved District 9. I loved it. It was somewhere on my top 10 that year. And I think that with that movie, Neil Blomkamp kind of solidified himself as a filmmaker to watch. Unfortunately, I don't think that he succeeded since then. I wasn't a fan of Elysium, and I thought that Chappie was just bad. So I think that while he needs another good movie to kind of make people pay attention to him again, I think that this is really the right decision, because I think that he needs to kind of maybe go into a different, genre, perhaps. I'm not sure, but he's been, doing all these movies with Charlton Copley, and some of them have been using like motion capture, and sci-fi in the future with a lot of violence. I think that people kind of get that he has a good sense for building worlds, but on the basis of his last two movies, I think he needs to work on his storytelling. So while and plus honestly, like the sell-by date for this is past, and I know that seems ridiculous considering there's a new movie coming out next week. But the thing is, like, let's just get this trilogy of prequels out of the way first. I think that people have a long memory when it comes to the series. They were disappointed by Alien 3 largely. They were disappointed by Alien Resurrection largely. And I think that this is kind of a good thing. I want to see this series continue in some way, but maybe not as Alien 5. Maybe we get done with the prequels and then it kind of becomes something else that's related to this universe. I'm not sure, but nevertheless, that's the bit of news. It's pretty much died. This is kind of okay. I'm going to ask you your thoughts about this, but I want to come back to something, and I'm going to start on a little diatribe. First, what do you think of this news? Because I don't know what you think of Neil Blomkamp overall.
Well,
I don't think we've ever talked about him.
Yeah, I'm with you. I really love District 9. I remember watching that for the very first time and just kind of blew my mind at how smart that movie was, and really just kind of took this mature route in this sci-fi type of realm, and I really enjoyed it. Elysium, I'm kind of lukewarm on. It's kind of like one of those things where, like, it was cool to look at. There's some interesting ideas, but it's just like I can't really say anything beyond that. It's just it kind of makes me forget about most of the movie. And then I never actually saw Chappie, by the way. But I heard it was terrible, and I have no desire to see it, actually. It's not because of the bad reviews. I do want to formulate my own opinion. It's just that I'd never really enjoyed the trailers. That's why I never really saw it to begin with. But Neil Blomkamp is a talented dude. But you're right. He's got to go into a different genre. Either go into a different genre or just direct another script. He does not need to be writing anymore. And that's not a bad thing. He just needs to kind of take a break a little bit, do something on his own to where he fully directs a vision, someone else's script, his vision, make that movie and let people go back on his side in terms of, the good intentions, and then he can do, like another written project or whatever. Hey, listen, he might have had a great idea for Alien 5. And I'm sure Joel and I will discuss a possibility of an Alien 5 after we see Covenant. Because I think that's another thing we need to kind of watch first, is this Ridley Scott kind of type of prequel trilogy, and see where he's going to take it. He actually might take it in a different direction on the third one, and then we could actually talk about future sequels down the line. But we have to see where this plays out first. So it being officially dead makes totally like a lot of sense to me. And Scott is a producer on the Alien franchise. Like, that's his thing. 20th Century Fox is not going to make something without him. So if he says it's dead, it is fucking dead. You wait until he gets his shit done first, and then, hey, like I said, maybe they spark an idea or like a separate story from the third prequel. We don't know yet. We have to watch and see. But I know that Sigourney Weaver came out and said that, oh yeah, that it's a great idea and whatnot. She could have just been saying that just to get another paid gig. Who knows? Maybe she did actually hear this 10-page pitch that Neil had. He didn't have a full script. He had a pitch. Maybe she liked the pitch, but I mean, obviously it's not up to the actors to greenlight this stuff unless they are producers. Then they have a little bit more say. But if it's a studio going, nah, you're gonna let Scott do what he wants, then yeah, it's pretty much dead. So for me, I'd have to see Covenant first, and like I said, I'm sure Joel and I will discuss it after the movie to see if this franchise can last beyond this prequel trilogy. We don't know yet, but Joel would like to use this episode to how do I say it delicately? Tear a new asshole. Joel, what was the issue today?
Okay, so I kind of have to preface this with some context. So Chase and I are seeing Alien Covenant on Wednesday. That's when, for the large part, it's screening for press. So, but some press saw it this past weekend, and listeners of the show will kind of know what this is. But if you're new to the show and then you might not, so I'm just going to explain it. With reviews, studios sort of set embargoes on the the publications to kind of control the buzz, um, and and so the embargo kind of lifted. I think it was Saturday night at midnight or
Yeah.
something,
Yeah.
and so a bunch of reviews landed. One of those reviews was from Empire, and I didn't read it. I didn't read it because I generally don't read reviews until I finish my own. But nevertheless, I've been hearing reports that it's full of spoilers, stuff that is that 20th Century Fox was wanting to intentionally hide in the campaign because they're genuine story surprises or twists or whatever you want to call them. So I just wanted to take this up. Now they removed the review and they put in the spoiler-free version, but nevertheless, I want to take this time to rebuke two entities. One, Empire, the editors of Empire. I don't know what you were doing, but you should not have printed that review 12 days before the movie opens. I understand that, but I don't think it's entirely their fault. And I'm gonna get to that in a second. I don't think it's really anybody's fault. But nevertheless, I just gotta say, like, I don't understand why they printed it. I don't understand why the editors looked at that review and thought that it was okay to print. However, I don't think it's fully their fault. I think that it is at large the system's fault. And what I mean by the system is this. So that embargo is, and I think that Chase will agree with me. We both work for a website that kind of sort of runs by these rules, although not really, which is why I like them a little bit more than most. But the embargo lift is a PR move. That's essentially what it is. It's a PR move by these studios trying to control the buzz, and a lot of times these online publications are complicit in this. And what I mean by complicit is in that sort of grave term, is the fact that writers right now, film writers, are appealing to the lift of the embargo. That's what they're doing. It's not in the interest of the reader. It's in the interest of the studio. Because what happens is, for instance, you have Logan screening 3 weeks before it opens, and then a bunch of reviews drop 3 weeks before the movie opens, which doesn't help any of the readers. Doesn't help them. It's not. The opposite end of that is when Star Wars: The Force Awakens screened. It was at noon on a Tuesday. The embargo lifted at 6 p.m. that same Tuesday, and reviews were posted. I have to wonder what the deal is there. Like, I'm kind of at a loss. I know that people write reviews quickly. I do. I write them pretty quickly. But the thing is, that's not a universal thing. That's you won't find that a lot. So it's kind of this wondering where most of the content of those reviews comes from. You know, when Logan screened, it was three weeks beforehand, and there was no embargo, or the embargo lifted like the following morning or something like that, and reviews were dropped. And I just don't understand this. You know, when film criticism was becoming this thing, this big thing that people were noticing, you more often than not wouldn't find this happening. It wasn't a common thing. Like, largely because such big tentpole movies weren't as common then either. But you wouldn't really find stuff like embargoes in the old days. And I think that was the better scene. Honestly, like, what's the harm really in holding Alien Covenant reviews until 4 p.m. on May 18th? You know, the afternoon, or whenever, you know, the Thursday evening before the movie opens in your country. Really, I think that like Prometheus opened a week early for Brits. I don't know if that's the case here. I'm not sure with Alien Covenant. I don't know if it opens this coming Friday, or if it opens, you know, on the 19th, like with us. but I don't see the harm in waiting, because people likely aren't going to be checking showtimes for movies that they want to see that weekend until the Thursday or Wednesday or something of the week when the movie comes out. And so, it's basically just kind of at the behest of the studio wanting to control the buzz. They have all these entertainment journalists. And this is something that has been around since the days of Ebert and Siskel. Siskel pointed it out on a television show once, where you have these entertainment journalists who are invited by the studios to junkets, and then they're just kind of caressing them almost, and it's a way to control the buzz, and it just seems so weirdly corporate to me. And this review dropping from Empire has kind of the spotlight's on them now. I think that it's indicative of this scene that doesn't make any sense to me. It's like, I understand that you want to have good buzz for your movie, but maybe make it, allow it to come about naturally. Let the critics see the movies, and then on the Thursday before they open, then the reviews come out. People are pumped at the last second. They're like, okay, let's go to this, or let's skip this, or whatever. And there's no use for it. There's no use for this whole scene of entertainment journalists being able to see movies early and then just cranking out a review so that they have something by the time an embargo lifts. I don't understand that. It's writing to the embargo. It's not writing to the readers. And journalism, film criticism is for the readers primarily. And anyway, it's just kind of becoming this business thing. And so that's my little diatribe. Maybe not as angry as I might have made it. I'm not Alex Jones screaming at the radio, but nevertheless, I think that it's indicative of something that needs to change. We need to have some sort of system that doesn't require this. Having a movie screen at noon and then having the embargo lift 6 hours later and having reviews ready is really weird, considering there's only like 2.5 hours there. I just don't understand it. And then, on the other end, having something screened three weeks early, and then, having this period of time where an entire buzz is built around the movie. It's just corporate on both ends of that scale. Same thing happened, I think, to Batman v Superman as Force Awakens. I think that it was, in the middle of the day once, and then the embargo lifted at midnight or something. It was insane, and I just don't understand it. Can you help me make sense of this, Chase? Because I don't get it. I don't get it.
Okay, so yeah, Joel and I work for a website to where we go to a lot of press screenings. Now, when we go to the Alien Covenant screening, what's really weird is that, yes, the embargo lifted for, like LA and New York and stuff, but we're still going to probably get told not to post a review. Like, it's such a weird kind of strategical game that they play. And I know exactly why these reviewers post up their reviews right as the embargo is lifted. It's very simple, and I'm very guilty of doing this because I did it with Logan. It's to get the hits. It's to get the clicks. It's to get the ad money. It's a business, and like I get that. If that is your bread and butter, and you have to crank these out to pay rent, I mean, sure. But Joel is right. Traditionally, the movie-going audience, like the 99% that see like 3 movies a year, they're not going to check showtimes until like maybe Wednesday or Thursday of that week to plan an outing with their loved one or themselves or whatever. That's just the way it goes. Now, the only people that like reading these early reviews are people like us, like movie junkies, people that are so involved into this world. We are the only ones that actually read these reviews or watch these movie reviews super early. Like I said, I can't really say it's a bad thing because I did it with Logan. And, so it's like, here's the one thing I do not like, though. when we are treated to a movie, several days or weeks in advance, I'm very appreciative of that. I cannot fucking believe someone as literate as me and someone who's got the grammar vocabulary of a second grader is able to be a part of this community. That's awesome. I hate when people watch a movie like press or whatever, and they do what Empire did and post a spoiler review. That's just fucking stupid. Like, just post a spoiler-free review. I don't give a shit if it's a year in advance. I would rather you just not do the spoiler stuff until, like, literally the day it opens, like Friday. That way when people see it, like, on Friday night, they go, oh my god, I want to talk about this with someone, and they go search up a review online that's spoiler-filled and have their opinions and whatnot. It's just, that's the part that irks me. But the whole embargo thing, I get it. It's a game, and people do this to create ads and create clicks because that's the money and all that stuff. So it's like I said, I can't really badmouth it because I've done it in the past, and the reason why I do it, and I'm gonna be upfront with you guys, is because I do want to grow as a reviewer or a critic or whatever, and I want to put these out early. That way I can get eyes on my stuff, and that way I can get a little bit more recognition in this community on the YouTube side. Not written side, because I'm terrible at that, but YouTube side. So, like I said, I've done it before for the very exact same reason. I don't make money off my videos. I make like 2 cents per video, so it's not a money thing. It's more of like building my brand type of thing. So that's why I do it. But yeah, the embargo thing is just a game. It really is, and it just depends on each market, and it's just keep in mind, this is someone's job. This is someone's job to, like, look at the calendar and go, should we release the embargo, like, the day before, or, like, 2 weeks before at, like, 12:33 p.m. PST? I don't know. So, like, it's just, yeah, it's one of those things. It's part of the business.
I would just like to encourage anybody who is in this world, who's listening to this, either right now or later on, that the embargo is not, I mean, it's technically kind of somebody telling you what to do, because it's, if you break the embargo, you can kind of be, you're frowned upon and whatnot. That can happen. That happened to David, what was his name? He reviewed The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. Anyway, New Yorker, I think, did this and was like banned from that producer's movies or something, which is dumb. But nevertheless, I would just like to encourage any reviewers to just kind of, I'm going to promise right now that whenever I see Alien Covenant, that at least for my site, I'm not going to be posting my review until like 4 o'clock on the 18th, because I don't see any use in doing it beforehand. People have already decided whether or not to see this movie.
Exactly.
Really, buzz is incidental, honestly. Like, I know that seems incredible to say in this, buzz-driven culture right now, but people already decided, 2 years ago whether they were going to see Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
It's more of a reassuring thing. Like, for instance, when I saw Logan 3 weeks before it came out and I posted my review, I also checked out other reviews that dropped on the embargo, just so I could be like, yeah, they agree with me. Like, this is awesome. It's like, it's just an excitement in the air to where, like, if you release like a review like 2 weeks before and you read it and it's like a positive one, you're like, oh my god, like, this is gonna be fucking awesome. And it's like I said, it makes sense to me. It's like I said, it's a strategy. Like, for instance, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, its review dropped 4 days before the movie opened up overseas. So that was almost 2 weeks before it opened up here. And when we get to the box office numbers here in a little bit, you guys will understand that sometimes it works. So it's a very complicated thing, but it's it is what it is. I'm just glad that Joel and I get to do what we do. So Joel, speaking of doing what we do, sometimes I can get a little tired, and I like to have a little downtime. I don't know if you guys know this, but I like to play video games. And some of my favorite ones, like, what's really odd about me is that I stick to like one like first person shooter game, maybe a couple of multiplayer games, and I play a bunch of sports games. I'm a fucking weird dude when it comes to video games. But Joel, there's Hollywood is not really good at taking their crack at video game movies. There was another one that got announced this week. What was it?
Yeah, Gears of War. I'm vaguely aware of this. I actually had to look up the premise so Chase of course sends me kind of a list of news items. I'm bad about keeping up with this stuff. So he mentioned Gears of War movie, and I actually had to go look up the premise of the game because
Whoops.
I don't play games. I mean, I used to when I was a kid. I played some off and on, but I'm not a regular gamer. But it's basically, this is set on an alternate version of Earth, and there's some sort of warring going on, a political conflict. Nevertheless, it's going to be made into a movie, and the Avatar, Shane Salerno is going to be the screenwriter. This is not very promising to me. It's actually not very promising to me in many ways, simply because it seems like video game movies only go in a particular direction at this point.
You mean positive?
Yeah, totally.
Joel, stop teasing the listeners. You mean positive, right?
I do. Warcraft is a masterpiece. No.
Oh, wonderful.
Anyway, Shane Salerno is going to be the screenwriter on this. I've not been a huge fan of this guy's output, at least to my limited knowledge of his output. He's also going to be in charge of the Avatar sequels, which is also kind of worrisome to me. But nevertheless, it's going to happen. And it'll be interesting to see who they get as a director. With our luck, maybe Warcraft, maybe the Warcraft director. It'd be good if he can make a good video game movie this time. But nevertheless, it's going to happen. So it'll be a big special effects bonanza. I've been hearing, there's this rumor floating around, probably wrong, that Dave Bautista is going to be in it. That rumor's likely because he's in the movie this weekend. That's how this stuff starts. But yeah, so it's happening. I really don't have much, to say on this. I've not played the games. I was just vaguely aware of them. I think that they still come out with them. I'm not sure if they do. I don't know what number they're on right now.
I believe they're on 4. So I mean, it's a pretty popular franchise. I've seen some of my friends play it. It looks pretty fucking epic. Like I'm gonna try to paint a picture for you guys. You guys remember the nightmare scene in BVS where Batman basically sees a bunch of parademons and sees the Omega symbol in the ground, and it looks like this desolate Mad Max Fury Road wasteland that's on fire. It kind of has that vibe to it where it almost looks post-apocalyptic, and I believe these Marines are fighting these creatures or whatnot. It's straight up just a creature feature type of deal, but who knows? It could be something good. But I do agree with you. First of all, point one, if you go to IMDb and go to Shane Salerno's page, his profile pic looks like he could be a backup singer for Backstreet Boys back in the 90s. So that's the first thing. Second thing, his filmography is not good in terms of writing. His most recent one was Savages, and then before that was Aliens versus Predator Requiem.
Oh, man,
do you remember that?
Oh,
yeah.
Man.
So, you remember that movie? Please someone shine a light on it, because you could not fucking see that movie.
Yeah.
I remember seeing that in theaters, and I still, to this day, cannot imagine how they greenlit and let that go through to theaters. But whatever. Anyways.
Just they lit nothing else.
Yeah, exactly. So, but here's the deal. James Cameron does not just hire random people. So what I'm thinking is, because James Cameron's credited as top bill writer on the Avatar sequels, rightfully so, that's his thing. He traditionally writes and directs all the things he does. I will bet you money that he hired Shane to kind of come up with ideas and maybe do punch-ups. I don't think he was actually involved in the actual script process. I think he was involved in the story development, which is two completely different things, which is fine with me. If he hired this guy, and he trusts him, and they created, these 500 Avatar sequels that they're going to do. Maybe he's got something. Maybe he went to Universal and he pitched this idea for a Gears of War movie. We have no clue. But Joel is correct. I have yet to see a good video game movie. And the closest one I could probably say was at least decent on a visual level. I really kind of enjoyed that first Silent Hill movie. Other than that, I really don't give a shit about this genre. I hated Warcraft last year. I hated it so much to where I wanted to skip Assassin's Creed, and that's got my boy Fassbender in it. You know what I'm saying? So, and I know people clamor on to the first Mortal Kombat. Get off your fucking high horse. It's terrible. I don't care if it's cheesy or not. I remember seeing Doom in theaters, and that was terrible. I never saw the Silent Hill sequel. All the Resident Evil movies are terrible. Oh shit! What else am I?
The first Resident Evil movie.
It's whatever. I mean, but I think we can all agree that they've never made one to where I think people could turn their heads and go, "Oh shit, that was really fucking good." We've never had that out of this genre. And you know what would be the most ironic thing? Out of all the video game movies that have been made so far in the history of film, what if Rampage, the one with Dwayne Johnson, is the first good one, and that's about a fucking ape, lizard, and the other creature climbing up and smashing buildings? What if that's the first good one? It probably won't be, but whatever. You guys remember Rampage? If you're old enough for that, but yeah. I'm really curious to see what he's going to do with it, and it would be really kind of cool to make the first good one. And I was listening to another show this past week when they were talking about this news, and they were saying whoever creates the first video game movie is going to be like a legend, which I agree with. Whoever creates that first good one is going to go down in history as the one person to actually switch this genre around. So who knows? Maybe it could be Gears of War. Joel, I would implore you just at some point, maybe before the movie comes out, watch like all the Gears of War video game trailers and kind of get like a sense of like what the game is. And I think you would really enjoy it. It kind of has like that, like I said, that post-apocalyptic kind of war creature type of feel. So if they can kind of capture that, I think it could be
I have a theory. It's been long, wondered why can't video game movies work? And I have a theory that the important stuff, and this is not like some complaint about video games. I've enjoyed video games and all that, but they are wildly different. Video games and movies are, because the meat of a video game is when you are in gameplay mode, and the stuff that bridges that gap, the cutscenes, are just adding context. It's not even really storytelling points, because all the important stuff that you learn is in gameplay, which is interactive. And so when you get to a movie, I think the reason that they're not able to make that work is because you have to be interacting with it in order for that plot point to hit well. And so I think that the first director to make sense of that and make it work anyway will absolutely be remembered as that person who kind of broke ground. Because even the first Resident Evil, which I just think it's enjoyable, it still has that same problem where a lot of it feels like gameplay, because it is, and it was birthed from gameplay, and so that's what I think is the problem here. It's really not to, Roger Ebert complained about video games being not as important or whatever. I don't think it's that at all. I think that there are a lot of video games with great stories. But I think that the meat of those stories is when you are interacting with it and finding out sort of as you go what's happening. And movies don't really work in the same way. It's not the same kind of interaction. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens when a director finally makes sense of that, makes it work anyway. And so I mean, maybe it could be Gears of War. I don't know, but that is a big problem to hurdle. And I think that
I mean that's kind of the issue that everyone has with like video game based movies, especially with people that are the hardcore gamers. I'm a casual gamer. I'm not going to sit here and say like, yeah, I play video games all the time. No, I primarily do what Joel does. We watch TV and we movies. Like that's our brand of entertainment. But gamers are completely different. Like they spend. I'm talking like several hours each day on each game. I might be lucky if I put in a couple hours on a game I'm playing right now per week. So, and they are, people that play video games, they watch these movies and they are the primary audience. So like if they're continuing to be fucking terrible, they're gonna stand up and be like, "Yo, Hollywood, this is some shit." And so I think at some point they will reach a fine balance where they can adapt a video game, make it good, and it might not be like the video game, but you could still adapt it and still make it something great with the name on it. That's what we can all kind of hope for. Speaking of hoping for stuff, Joel, did I tell you I like to laugh? I really, really like to laugh, and some of my favorite comedies have put me in such like a comatose state to where like I would laugh so hard that I wouldn't be able to move my face anymore, and I'd just be like asleep on my bed, and I'd just be knocked out cold from the straight up laughter. This next piece of news has probably got to be my favorite piece of news all year, and I'm not even joking. So it's called The Happy Time Murders. And if you guys don't know what this is, you're like, why would you be so excited about something called that? All right. I want you to picture 2011. You're going into the theater, right? And you're like, okay, I want to see like a nice family movie. And, it's made by Disney. It's for kids. Or, 2010, sorry. You sit down, you watch, you walk out, and you go, well, hot damn. That Muppets movie was pretty fucking dope, right?
That was 2011. Go ahead.
2011. Okay, so you're like, wow, that was a pretty great movie. Now, what if that movie was rated R, it's got a bunch of swearing and a bunch of violence in it? And you're like, you're either two people. You're going to be that person who goes, fuck yeah, or that person who goes, fuck no. I'm the person that goes, fuck yeah. So Melissa McCarthy has just signed on to star in The Happy Time Murders, where she plays a detective trying to solve these like string of crimes in a world that's half humans, half puppets. I am losing my fucking mind over this piece of news. I think it's genius. It could be either the dumbest thing in film history or one of the best comedies in the past 10 years. I think, like I said, if they can just kind of marry that blend of like what the Muppets did back in 2011 and take it to that kind of dirty level, it could be just a very hilariously like raunchy good time in the theater. Now, the one issue I do have with it is, does the stick get old? Because the thing with the Muppets, when it came out, it was really good. The humor was light, it was fresh, and was also family oriented, while sneaking in some nice jabs for the adults for them to enjoy, while the kids are just sitting there going, ooh, colorful puppets. With the Happy Time Murders, it kind of makes me worry that the raunchy factor might wear off within the first 10 minutes. That's my only worry, but I thought the kind of magic would wear off with Team America, and that's all string puppets, and that is one of the funniest fucking movies I've ever seen. So, but then again, that's also done by the South Park guys, and they do adapt a lot more socially relevant stuff into their comedy, so I get that. But this could just turn out to be a really good time, or a real just just the worst fucking theater experience ever. Just sitting there going, wow, this is like the most unfunny thing I've seen in a while. So I'm really excited for it. If they can do it just right and make it like an R-rated Muppets, I think it could be a pretty good time. So, Joel, I know Joel and I differ a lot on raunchy comedies, but at least, I will respect him because one of his favorite movies is Step Brothers. So at least we're on the right track to getting the same kind of feel for comedies. But we do disagree a lot on raunchy comedies. Joel, does this tickle your fancy?
It does.
Yes.
I think it could. What I want them to do is pair the raunch really well with the violence, make it a genuinely interesting case that's been happening. These murders that have been happening. I think that there's a lot of real potential here, especially with an R rating. I think that that's smart, and of course McCarthy's funny, and so I think that. I'm a fan of this. I think it's a pretty neat little bit of news. I'm a fan of raunchy comedy when it's done well. So I'm hoping that this is an example of that. I hope it's done well. But I think you're right. I think that there is with the wrong writer or something, wrong treatment, it could wear off. I'm hoping it doesn't because I'm certainly excited.
Yeah,
It could be a happy time, or it could wear.
Ah! Oh, Joel, this is why he is the co-host. But yeah, no, the one thing I really kind of appreciate about it is that image that was released for this movie, like I think like a year or two ago. It literally had like like a puppet sitting on a desk with like a human cop like asking him questions, and there was a dead puppet on the floor, and like it had like the red kind of stuffing come out as if it was blood. When I saw that image, I didn't know what it was, and when this was finally announced, I went back and did my research, and I was like, oh shit, this has been in development for years, and if they can do it just as funny as that photo, oh, we're going to be for a hell of a treat. So, yeah, just look at that photo and just get a sense of the tone, and you'll just probably die laughing just from the photo. It looks so great. So yeah, that is it for the news, guys. Kind of a slow news week, but we made it stretch out to the best of our ability. But I know you guys are waiting for that Guardians of the Galaxy Vol 2 movie review, but don't worry, we'll get to it. We'll take care of you. You gotta trust us on this journey. We will take you to that point, that destination. But first, we gotta get to some trailers. And the first trailer, gotta pull up my notes here. Joel, when we did our summer movie preview, there was a certain movie that you put on your list. Now, at that point, we had only seen a teaser trailer, and if a teaser trailer was that effective to put it on your list, it must have been good, right? So the full trailer to that movie just dropped this week. Does it still live up to your expectations?
Oh, yes.
I think Joel just needs to go change his pants. Give him 5 minutes, ladies and gentlemen.
I did everything. No, but it's called It Comes at Night. It's the new film from Trey Edward Schultz. And it looks awesome. It's a horror film. It seems to be sort of a village vibe. Certainly M. Night Shyamalan before he lost his way. And it gives us a little bit more of a concept of the story, in that it is about this tight-knit group of people who are trying to keep themselves safe behind a red door. I really don't know beyond that, what this is about. It clearly is
that's a good thing, though.
Yes, it very much is. And like I said, this guy is the real deal. I mean, I feel like he's going to be one of those directors. If this one is as good as it can be, I feel like he's going to be one of those directors that we talk about in 20 years as being, this trailblazer, if he doesn't, sell out or something. And it looks so terrifying, and just the production design looks on fire. I just love everything about this trailer. I watched it like 3 times in a row, like just sitting right there, and then of course I watched it again preparing for this, and it just looks so good. And this is my kind of horror. It's psychological, very very clearly psychological, but there's obviously a lot of visual stuff going on there that they're hiding from us, and that's just so intriguing. I just can't wait to find out the secrets in this. It looks like it has shades of like Kubrick almost, and John Carpenter and all these people. I just love this trailer. Anyway, so I know you do too. I'm deciding for you, but I know that you love this trailer. So.
It was absolute garbage, and A24 can suck my genitals. No, it's a really great trailer. I mean, if A24 can continue to distribute movies that look like The Witch, I am totally down for like this horror catalog that they're going to eventually build up. I like what Joel said. The mystery of the trailer is just so intriguing. It's well shot, and I love the kind of like harsh colors with this like beautiful cinematography. It really kind of highlights the horror elements a little bit. It's just an absolutely wonderful trailer, and I wish studios could take fucking note and realize this is a great trailer. You don't need a show anymore. You know why? Because I remember the good old days, Joel. I don't know if you remember these days, but do you remember the fucking days when you would watch a trailer and go, wow, that was really intriguing. I am intrigued to go see the movie play out for me for the very first time. Instead of watching a 3-minute trailer and having everything fucking spoiled for you and be like, okay, that's nice. I have a bad feeling, like when we see Alien Covenant, we're gonna look back at those trailers and go, wow, they revealed way too much, because that's what I've been hearing. And so it's one of those things to where, like, this was a perfect trailer. Perfect first trailer, captured the mood, the essence, the mystery. You will intrigue hardcore horror fans, and hopefully this will be kind of a sleeper hit for A24 like The Witch was, and really kind of broaden to a wider audience. And the fact that A24 is dropping this shit in June tells me that they're pretty confident about this, and maybe it could be one of those films that moviegoers that see 3 movies a year might go, that looks pretty interesting, I might give that a shot. So yeah, It Comes at Night cannot come any fucking faster. Alright, next trailer. Now, I don't know if you guys have been watching, but Silicon Valley is one of my favorite shows on HBO. It's one of my favorite shows on TV. It's very funny. It's very smart. And I think Mike Judge is an American treasure. That's right. I said it. He's the creator of that show, and he also created, Beavis and Butthead, King of the Hill. One of the best realistic documentaries, Idiocracy, because we are currently living that, and a bunch of other movies that he did as well. He's a really funny dude, and I love that show. What makes the show so great is all these actors coming together, whether it be Thomas Middleditch or T.J. Miller or Martin Starr, Zach Woods or Kumail Nanjiani, and all coming together to really kind of create this kind of natural flow of improv comedy. It's wonderful. So I'm always curious to see when any 5 of those guys venture off and do something. Now, I know Zach Woods from The Office. I know Martin Starr from the Judd Apatow comedies. Thomas Middleditch is doing very well in Verizon commercials, and T.J. Miller's in Deadpool. So I'm like, I'm curious to see what Kumail does. There was a trailer that dropped that he co-wrote with his, I believe, wife in real life, Emily Gordon, I believe, and it's called The Big Sick. He basically stars as himself, and he has sex with this girl on the first date, and they start to kind of have like this relationship kind of back and forth. They break up, he still cares about her and stuff. And I'm not going to say anything beyond that because I actually think the trailer did reveal a little too much, even though I enjoyed the trailer. Ray Romano was in it, Holly Hunter. It looks like a really just pleasant romantic comedy. It looks like it's going to be very well written. Just from the trailer alone, it took a bunch of different turns you won't see often in romantic comedies, which is great. It keeps it fresh. It keeps it exciting, and it doesn't, fall into the typical cliched type of romantic comedies. So yeah, I'm glad that Kumail is getting his opportunity. He's co-writing it. He's in it, and it looks just like a sweet little romantic comedy. It made me laugh a couple times. And it's great to see Ray Romano come back from the dead. But yeah, I really enjoyed the trailer quite a bit, and I know for a damn fact that when we get the invite to this, I will sign up for it right away. Joel, what did you think of this trailer?
Oh, I think it looks wonderful.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, it's actually based on their relationship.
Okay.
Zoe Kazan essentially plays Emily Gordon in this. So I believe that all of these situations that they go through are real. Obviously slightly dramatized, but I believe that it's pretty seriously based in reality. And it looks just so sweet and funny. I laughed. I was intrigued by, as you said, a certain dramatic turn. I think that it looks just so. It looks like basically what every other rom-com right now, or almost every one of them, want to be and are not. Because I feel like a lot of them are swallowed up in cliche. And even if this does have cliches, the fact that it spawns from reality is maybe not, it doesn't get rid of an excuse, but it's at least based in reality. And you're right, I'm glad to see Ray Romano again. I loved him for years on Parenthood. So he had a recent role on Parenthood that everybody needs to go watch that show. As a man who, he and I have a lot of similarities, let's just say. And anyway, Holly Hunter, excited to see her in something because I love her. And yeah, just a great cast. And it's the director of Hello, My Name is Doris.
That was a good little movie. I liked it.
Yeah, yeah, that was a really sweet romantic comedy as well, um, and a comedy about aging. I thought that was really charming, and I'm looking forward to this quite a bit. I've heard raves from where did it show? Was it Sundance? I think it was.
Yeah, I believe it was Sundance where it first premiered.
And I've heard raves since then, so I'm really excited. And
Yeah,
I have a limited. I don't watch Silicon Valley. I know I need to. I've heard it for ages, but
Joel, let me just say this right now. Like, I would not recommend a lot of like TV comedies to you, but I think Silicon Valley is right up your alley. I think you would really it kind of like blends that nice kind of like aura of raunchy, dry, awkward humor. It's really good. It's fast paced. Considering it's in the world of technology of Silicon Valley, it actually fits appropriately with its subject matter. So I think you would enjoy it. So if you Joel, if you want my HBO Go password, just let me know. Anyways, HBO, don't worry. Joel is paying for a monthly subscription too. So yeah, the movie looks great. If you guys have not seen Michael Showalter's work, like what Joel said, Hello, My Name is Doris. This is really just a nice little movie with Sally Field, and Michael is he's 1/3 part of Stella. Do you guys remember that comedy group with David Wayne and Michael Ian Black? And these motherfuckers are the guys that created like Wet Hot American Summer, and David went on to direct like Role Models and stuff. So these guys are really kind of honed into this kind of like comedy realm, kind of romance comedy. So they know what they're doing. Trust us. So Joel, when I was seeing Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, I really get ramped up when I see like trailers. And there was a specific trailer that dropped. It had a bunch of like guns. I think it was about a war or something. I don't know. I'm not really fond of history like our beautiful orange leader is. So could you describe to us what full-length trailer dropped with a bunch of guns and planes?
Yeah. So Dunkirk is coming out. This is about the Dunkirk evacuation that happened. Actually, I don't know the year that it happened. I think it was 1940 or something. But if anybody saw the movie Their Finest, that was about the filming of the Dunkirk evacuation. This is a filming of the Dunkirk evacuation. Interesting dynamic there. But yeah, this one is Christopher Nolan's new film, and this was the full trailer. We got one a while ago that was very enticing, but this one is it looks awesome. I can't wait. I've been waiting for Christopher Nolan to do a war film for a while. He's gotten together this insane cast: Tom Hardy, Kenneth Branagh, Mark Strong. No, I can't remember if Mark Strong was in there. Anyway, what's his name? Oh my gosh, he just won an Oscar for Bridge of Spies.
Oh, Mark Rylance.
Yes, Mark Rylance. It wasn't Mark Strong. I get them confused. Harry Styles is in this.
That's Joel's favorite, everyone. Just remember that Joel is a avid One Direction fan, so he is super excited to see Harry's acting debut.
Well, I will tell you.
Oh, shit. I was joking. Joel, please don't reveal something online. This is online forever.
Harry Styles' new song is great. I've never really been a fan of One Direction, but Harry Styles' new song is great. Sign of the Times. Everybody,
Joel, you're revealing a lot about you that I did not want to know. All right. So.
It sounds like it's straight from the 1970s, but anyway, it looks great. It looks just big and stunning. He's working. I believe, isn't he working with? He's working with Hoyt van Hoytema again, right? Cinematographer from Interstellar. I think he is.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's right, because they had. I think that they signed up for 2 in a row together. Anyway, just it looks so good. Oh my gosh! Again, I've been waiting for Nolan to do a war movie. I think that there's no better director of controlled chaos, and that's essentially what war is. Just look at the PG-13 rating for this, and you'll find like a lot of people have been wondering, PG-13 war movie, but once you look at the rating, I think that, and then you put it together with Christopher Nolan's directing it, I think that that's kind of what it means. It's going to be the usual, very intense war experience. as directed by Christopher Nolan. I think that this is a perfect director for that. I think honestly, I think that this could be this year's Saving Private Ryan in that respect, because Saving Private Ryan came out in July of '98, and I think that this could have similar success. And yeah, I'm absolutely stoked for this. I think that the actors all look terrific. Oh, Cillian Murphy's in it too. So anyway, just yeah, huge fan of this trailer. Really excited.
Yeah,
July 21st. So
it looks so good. Like I saw the trailer online. I was already excited. It looks beautiful, and it really kind of captures like the horrors of war while still having like top-notch performances, really wonderful stunt sequences. And Christopher Nolan likes to use practical shit, and he uses like 100,000 extras in this thing, and it looks authentic, and like that's what I really kind of appreciate. It doesn't look like he's going to be using like a lot of VFX or green screen a lot, which is really awesome. But man, seeing that trailer in front of Guardians, like just when you hear the surround sound, you hear this wonderful sound design with the planes going by or the music being incorporated into this epic type of story. It looks so good. And Joel's right. It could be this year's Saving Private Ryan, and that's good enough for me. So, yeah, the trailer was a really great first trailer for sure. I don't want to see any more, to be honest with you. And if one does drop before July again, I ain't going to cover it. Joel ain't going to cover it. we're going to go see this. And that will definitely be one of the movies we review that weekend faux show. One of the movies we will not be reviewing, maybe if we get super drunk, high, and maybe someone pays us. Maybe if Lionsgate pays us. But Joel and I pretty much bashed the last Lionsgate movie we saw with Nick Cage, so we have another one for you. So let me just let you guys know, just right off the bat, I saw Unforgettable this past week, and oh boy, was it unforgettable for the very wrong reasons. It was terrible. It was garbage, and it kind of reminded me of just like, if Lifetime Channel rejected a movie, someone found a script on the ground, picked it up, scrubbed the dirt off, maybe the jizz stains, whatever. And they're like, oh, we can make a movie out of this, and they made it Unforgettable. Now, I want you to take that script for Unforgettable, which was already a trash can script. That one was also thrown into the trash. Then it was poured into a junkyard. Then the wind took that script and flew it across Hollywood, across all the smog, and landed on the porch of a writer to create Inconceivable, starring Nicolas Cage. This trailer is fucking terrible. Listen, when you literally just saw Unforgettable, and you watch the trailer and you go, wow, this is literally the same fucking thing. It's kind of mind-boggling. I don't know why people love this genre of film. I know of one movie within this type of like, erotic thriller type of genre. I really love Basic Instinct. I love movies like that. I don't know why, I just do. But when you take that kind of premise and you like dumb it down and make it so watered down, it just no. Inconceivable looks like that. Nick Cage, him and Gina Gershon, need someone to look after the kids, and then the nanny gets all obsessed and wants to make love to everyone in the neighborhood. I have no fucking clue. It looks terrible. Looks awful. Nick Cage is getting another paycheck. Oh god. And Joel and I just saw another Nick Cage Lionsgate movie earlier this year, and it was also terrible. I don't know what his deal is. The guy's got an Oscar on his shelf. Like, what the fuck, man? You should be done. You should be done trying to pay all this debt that you apparently accumulated like fucking 10 years ago. Stop taking all these roles. Anyways, no to the no to the no. Joel, do you want to see this opening night with me? That's an invitation.
Oh, sure. Yeah,
yes.
Let's go. It looks awful. It looks unintentionally hilarious in a way that is boring, if that makes sense. It actually looks closer to me even to When the Bow Breaks, which is that one from last year,
Yeah.
which is in the same vein as Unforgettable.
Yeah, basically, Morris Chestnut is the black Nick Cage when it comes to these type of movies, where
Yes.
he basically just he does these shit movies where he's the husband, he's got the wife, there's a third girl in the mix, and they gotta go take care of it. It's the same fucking story, just wrapped up with a different goddamn title. Stop it, Hollywood! Fuck, I know what your game is. Morris Chestnut, God bless that man. He's a pretty good little actor. He's accepting these gigs for money. I don't blame him, but he's got to stop because he's marginalizing himself into this this role now. Just no.
It must be. He's done that role like 5 times, I think, now, and some of them have been direct to video. Some of them have made it to theaters. But yeah, it must be an interesting household because he must just tell his wife, "Got to do another role of this.
Got to do another one."
That's what happened. Yeah, no, this one looks really, really funny in bad ways. I might watch it some night if it's on Netflix or something, but
Joel,
I can't imagine that'll be in 2017. First of all, or anytime soon. It looks bad, and at some point I'll see Unforgettable too. But this kind of thing, it can be fun trash. It can be. It just has to be fun trash, and it doesn't look like this is one of those.
I will say this. I'd rather take Nick Cage over Katherine Heigl any day. But, Joel, I have to ask you a serious question. This has been on everyone's mind ever since they saw the trailer for Unforgettable. I mean, what sounds worse as a title? Unforgettable or the word that was popularized in The Princess Bride? What sounds worse? Do you want to go see Unforgettable or Inconceivable? It just... Who picks these fucking titles? I swear to God, there's an intern somewhere at a studio lot. He gets drunk all day, every day, right? He has a top hat, a magic top hat full of all these ridiculous just one-word title movies. He goes to the producer and oh, you need a title for the next Morris Chestnut or Nicolas Cage third woman trying to break up a marriage movie. Cool, just dig your hand into this, pull out whatever you get, and just slap it on there. Stop.
Is it too late to add Wallace Shawn to this cast?
I mean, he could pop up as Nick Cage's dad, which would be super hilarious. I will say this. You know what the funniest part about seeing Unforgettable was? And these movies cater to housewives. I don't mean to offend anyone. It's just it's the truth. I was literally the only one in there that was by myself. All the other 2 guys were with their wives, I think, and the other 2 behind me were wearing sweatpants and they looked like they were a mom of 4. It's not a dig. It's just that's what these movies cater to. The funniest part about Unforgettable, there was a woman behind me. She had to have been at least in her 50s. It looked like the movie was for her. It's okay, she's going to enjoy this. She got up in the middle of the movie and left. She did not come back. I was like, if your movie cannot even cater to the people that you cater it to, you fucked up, kid. You done fucked up. You need to go home, take a nap, wake up, and rejuvenate yourself because it ain't working. So speaking of stuff that may or may not work, Joel, I'm a fan of history, and I really like anything. World War II, World War I. I just love all the wars. I love reading about them. History was one of my favorite courses. And one of my favorite people to read about was Winston Churchill. So apparently, just like with what Hollywood does, create 2 movies of the same fucking thing, we have 2 Winston Churchill movies coming out this year, which I didn't even know about the second one because I knew about the first one because it's Gary Oldman. Joel, apparently there's a second one coming out.
Yeah, I didn't know about it either, by the way, until you told me about that. I thought that you were talking about the Gary Oldman one.
No.
Right. Yeah, so this one is Churchill. It's got Brian Cox. People will probably recognize Brian Cox from the Bourne series early on in it. And he plays... it's interesting. He kind of disappears into roles, and so he does look like Churchill. It's fascinating how right they got it. And this is, I believe, I'm not sure what the event was. I'm gonna have to look into that. But there's some event that sort of drives him to kind of be a little more watchful of the soldiers in his armies. He becomes very worried that there are just too many people dying, and this movie seems to be sort of about that. It looks pretty solid, solid period piece. I don't really have much to say, but it's got Brian Cox, Miranda Richardson. Who else is in that? Oh my gosh, I just forgot. But yeah, looks like a solid cast, whatever it is. And I'm always excited to see Brian Cox and stuff. I think he's a fine actor. And yeah, so what did you think of this one? We don't tell each other this stuff before the shows, but I thought it looked solid. So
I mean, it looks solid, but I feel really bad for it because it will be overshadowed by the probably nominated Gary Oldman for his movie coming out later this year, and that's kind of sad. But that's kind of, like I said, Hollywood's fault. If you're gonna do two fucking movies of the same person you're doing a biopic of, like, obviously one's gonna go overshadowed, and this one's gonna get overshadowed for sure. But it looks solid. It kind of reminded me of the trailer we talked about last week, the one with the one with Lily James and
oh yes, yeah. What was that called? Oh my gosh!
Holy shit! What's his? I'm forgetting his name. Oh my god! This is why, guys. This is why you should.
A very memorable title.
Oh dear lord!
Wow, this is a live show, guys. This is what happens sometimes.
This is what happens when you're in movies like A Good Day to Die Hard. You can't remember your fucking name. Oh, I had it. I fucking had it. Anyways, that's, oh my god, Joel, we're gonna get this down. Okay.
I'm looking it up.
Captain Boomerang, Terminator Genesis. What is your fucking name? God damn it.
Jai Courtney.
Jai Courtney. Thank you. All right. So the Jai Courtney Lily James movie. That was a solid trailer.
The exception.
The exception. So, it kind of reminded me of that trailer last week, to where, like, it looks like a solid film. Looks like it's going to have some really good drama and maybe a really great performance from Brian Cox. And maybe, who knows, I'm leaning towards Gary Oldman, but it would be kind of funny if this movie comes out, Brian Cox kills it as Winston Churchill, and then the Gary Oldman comes out and it's like, ooh, that was just kind of average. So that'd be kind of interesting, but it'd be really cool to see two good Winston Churchill performances this year, and Brian Cox does kind of look like him, so yeah, it should be a lot of fun. What doesn't look like a lot of fun? The Dark Tower. Here's the deal, guys. I'm excited for this movie. I love me some... All right. I love me some McConaughey. I love me some Idris Elba. And I like Stephen King adaptations, so it looked like a recipe for greatness. This trailer is average as hell. I mean, when the movie plays, or when the trailer plays out, you're like, okay, I'm kind of intrigued. But as it just keeps playing, you almost get kind of bored, and you keep checking the time limit, which was almost 3 minutes, by the way. And you're like, wow, that trailer didn't really get me excited at all. I'm actually more excited to look forward to it in September, which is the other Stephen King adaptation. I feel really bad for Sony. They just, every movie they've come out with lately, it's the same thing with I believe Lionsgate, speaking of them, is that they and Paramount, they've just been coming out with just shit after shit after shit, and they just look like they don't care. This trailer looks like no one cares. And that's kind of a bad thing. I'm talking filmmaker-wise, not the acting. Because I do think McConaughey can be menacing as the Man in Black. I think Idris Elba could be a really awesome gunslinger. Like, there was some pretty cool action sequences with how he was handling the gun, putting new bullets in, and locking it up and whatnot. That was some cool stuff. But the trailer did kind of bore me. I didn't really care about it. Didn't really get me overly excited about it. I'm looking forward more towards it. Joel, I didn't, like what Joel said, we don't ask each other about the trailers, so I'm curious, Did you like it better than I did, or did you like it worse than I did?
So, I'm going to admit this. When Chase sent me the notes for the week, I had forgotten that this trailer came out.
Yeah.
I saw it. It looks so forgettable.
It's very forgettable. That's what's really sad.
It comes from screenwriters Akiva Goldsman and Jeff Pinkner, who are two of the most, they write movies, unless they're like some drama or something, they write movies and then you kind of just forget that they wrote them. It just, I wish that they didn't include the cool shot, and by that I mean the gunshot. because that would have been an interesting thing to reveal in the movie itself. That was a dumb decision. But yeah, it seems to me that Matthew McConaughey's miscast. I'm not familiar with the book, so I don't know. Maybe he's a perfect fit, but based on the trailer, it doesn't seem like dialogue that works coming out of Matthew McConaughey's mouth. I think that Idris Elba looks a lot better cast. I'm looking forward to him. I look forward to him in anything generally, but I'm looking forward to him specifically in that kind of a role because he's got that. He's big. He's fairly massive. It seems to me like he's about as big as somebody like Dwayne Johnson, and maybe some clothing hides that fact. But I'm always looking forward to him in these kinds of movies, but it really just looks very forgettable, bland, generic. I don't know, man.
The visual style is so flat. Like, besides those couple like gunshots, like it just looks like a very flat movie, which is, when you look at the Dark Tower book, that thing is massive. You could kill a small child with it. It's the same thing with the It book. And the It trailer looks phenomenal. It looks like a great horror film because it established mood, tone, and excitement. This did nothing. And so that's why you have to bring up the It trailer, because that was a really well done trailer, while this was like, oh, Sony's got another movie coming out. So it just, no thank you. So that is it for the main trailers, guys. Now, occasionally I like to bring up Netflix trailers because it's Netflix and they're going to rule the world one day. If you thought Skynet was the one that was going to rule the world, well, Terminator got it wrong. It's actually Netflix. So there's a couple of trailers that dropped, one of which is Bloodline Season 3. And I've been watching the show since its inception. It's a really good show. If you guys want to know what type of show it is, it's really just a really tightly knit family drama. It's got great performances from Kyle Chandler, Ben Mendelsohn, Sissy Spacek, Linda Cardinelli. Essentially, they're all a family, right? They're all related. Kyle Chandler, Linda, the other guy, I know, I forgot his name, but there's another guy, and then Ben Mendelsohn. Ben Mendelsohn's kind of like the black sheep of the family. Something kind of happens within the family, and they're gonna kind of have to hide it from like the cops and stuff. It's a really intriguing family drama that it's really kind of powerful stuff. It dropped its last season trailer, so season 3 is going to be the final season. The trailer looks great. I can't wait to see it. Joel, just real quick, and we'll move on to the Defenders. Do you watch Bloodline?
No, I don't. I need to. I think I watched the first episode or something and then got onto some other show, but it was really intriguing. This trailer kind of gave away some stuff that I probably would not have wanted to know.
Well, Joel, you should have watched it then. I don't want to spoil shit for you.
It's okay. It's okay. I'll probably forget by the time. A lot of it was shadowy anyway, so it was just sort of like, okay, maybe I shouldn't have watched it. But nevertheless, it does look good though. I do need to see it, or watch it, I should say, and I likely will at some point continue that show. So.
I know I badmouthed Sony just a couple of seconds ago, but I will praise them for this because their television department actually distributed this one, so thank you for that. It's actually one of the only few shows that's set in Florida that actually makes me feel like I'm in Florida. Every time I watch that show, I feel sticky with humidity, and I'm just like, oh, gross, man. Like, it always makes me feel dirty when I watch that show. So, Bloodline, if you guys are not watching it, please fucking watch it. This whole month is amazing. You have Sense8 Season 2, Master of None Season 2, House of Cards Season 5, and Bloodline Season 3. Netflix is basically going to make you hermits for the next month. And then the next trailer for Netflix, and we'll wrap up and we'll go to Guardians, because I know you guys are so eager to hear our thoughts. The Defenders. Yes. I really love Daredevil Season 1. I love Jessica Jones Season 1. I really love, and my favorite to date is Daredevil Season 2. Luke Cage was great for the first half, kind of fell flat for the second half. After a certain thing happened to a certain character in Luke Cage, that's when it kind of downfall, if you guys know what I'm talking about. And then Iron Fist, oh god, that was rough to get through. Like, it was a chore to get through those 13 episodes. Like, the last 3 were okay, but other than that, I really didn't care for Danny Rand at all. But this Defenders trailer does look really great. I do like the interaction between all 4 of them. I was a little worried to see how it would actually conspire on the chemistry, and it looks like it's going to nail it. Danny Rand just still looks like the runt of the group, someone please kick his ass. Like I just want Luke Cage to like just push him through a wall, and he's gonna fly out of Hell's Kitchen and just land somewhere in the ocean. But yeah, I like the way Jessica Jones looks, Daredevil, and they even kind of teased a little bit of the fight sequences, which look really great. You guys have to remember that the Defenders is actually going to be show-runned by the Daredevil guys. So it's going to have like kind of that grounded, gritty type of hand-to-hand combat, which is what we want, since all four of them are actually really great at hand-to-hand combat, so it actually makes sense. And the one thing I really love about this show, it's 8 episodes. As much as I appreciate 13 episodes, I'm glad that Netflix is starting to realize that maybe sometimes we don't need 13 and give you 8, get you straight to the point. I think that's great for the show. That's 8 hours worth of content. It's beautiful. It's perfect. That's all I want. So the trailer to The Defenders looks really great, and that comes out in August. It actually comes out very soon. So Joel, just real quick, just a kind of recap of all the Marvel Netflix shows that you've seen, and what did you think of this trailer?
Well, I'm not very well versed in these. I watched some of the first season of Daredevil and didn't really like it very much.
Okay, well, Joel is going to put in his 2 weeks notice, and he will be gone in 2 weeks. God damn you.
No, and then I watched, I think, I need to catch up on Jessica Jones because I watched the first few of that and I really liked it. I haven't watched any of Luke Cage or Iron Fist. This looks fun, I guess. I'm not, like I said, I'd have to binge all those or something, and I don't really have an interest in that. That's a lot to commit to. And of course, listeners out there, I'm sure, can understand that. I'm primarily a film critic. I can't watch everything that comes on TV, and I can't even expect myself to. And I would hope that everybody else will understand that. It looks fun. I might check it out. I'm not sure. I feel like I'd have to have the context of the other shows in order to really appreciate it. And I'm certainly not interested in watching Iron Fist after all I've heard of it. But yeah, I don't know. It looks fun though. I'm glad that it's coming out for fans of this stuff. So
yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, Joel, if you ever have time, I would just say just watch Daredevil and Jessica Jones, and you'd be fine. I mean, it's really just one of those things where if you watch both seasons of Daredevil, Jessica Jones, I think you can primarily get the other two characters if you watch the Defenders. So yeah, so the Defenders, Bloodline. Guys, Netflix has got some good shit, man. Like they're competing with the greats of like HBO and Showtime and stuff. Please check out some of their shows if you have not. So that is it for the trailers, guys. What was your favorite trailer out there? Please comment down below my face and let me know. Joel, just real quick, what was your favorite trailer?
It Comes at Night, the full trailer. Can't wait. I'm hoping that we get that invite near the end of the month for it because I cannot wait to see this movie. So
I agree.
That's absolutely my favorite trailer.
Yeah, I agree. That one and Dunkirk probably tied for the best for sure. So yeah, all right, guys, let's get into the main meat of the podcast. The appetizers are done. Joel and I chomped away at a bunch of stuff for almost an hour and a half. We teased you guys for this very moment. Now, 2014 rolls along. At this point, I'm a fan of Marvel and anything they do, right? And so, 2014 rolls around and Captain America Winter Soldier comes out. And you're like, wow, what could follow up this joint? Guardians of the Galaxy comes out in August. Marvel takes a risk. No one's really ever heard of these characters. It's something that was even more obscure than Iron Man when it came out in 2008. It was a huge hit. Critics loved it. Fans loved it. It was just a beloved product that no one saw coming. So people were like, okay, what can you do next? Marvel announces a sequel. I think we all kind of knew this was going to be a big thing for Marvel, considering the fact that the first one was a risk, but it turned out to be gold. So making a sequel makes total sense. So how was it? Well, first of all, let's backtrack a little bit. All the critics online were kind of split. where it was like some really liked it, some thought it was fine, it wasn't as good as the first, and then I saw a couple that were like, I didn't really care for it. So how does Joel and I fare on this? Joel, we will open up with what the overall word to describe it, and then we'll kind of break it down. So Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, or excuse me, Guardians of the Galaxy Vol 2.
Hey.
Vol 2, excuse me. Here we go. Well, I will say this. On first viewing, I really like it, and if I watched it a second time, I might like it more than the first. Joel, what is your opening statement?
It's good, and it's a shade better than the first, I think.
Oh, shit. So we actually kind of agree on that. So, all right, let's get real and break this down, ladies and gentlemen.
I'll first synopsize it. Is that fine?
Yeah, no, I was actually about to say it. So Joel is going to say what the movie is about, and we will go from there.
Yeah, so of course this is the sequel to the 2014 film, which I thought was fine. I'm just going to come out with that. Chase and I have not talked about that movie before, and I told him that I would reveal to him thoughts on both of them. But I thought that the first one was fine. I thought that it was dragged down a bit by the plot. There was too much emphasis on plot that didn't really make any sense. But it coasted by on the cast. I actually just watched it again on Saturday, and had that same reaction. But this is the sequel, Volume 2, from director James Gunn. And this one is sort of follows two major plot threads. Kind of have to ease into that, but nevertheless, in this film, Peter Quill, aka Star-Lord, meets his father, and I can go ahead and go out and say that because that is literally the premise of the movie. So I've seen a lot of people say, "Don't spoil that." It's the plot. Nevertheless, he meets his father, played by Kurt Russell, and in this film, he and Gamora, played by Zoe Saldana. And of course, Peter's played by Chris Pratt, by the way. They're separated from the rest of the group, and in one part of the plot, Peter's sort of confronting his destiny as laid out for him by his father. I won't reveal what that is. And then in the other part, Yondu, played by Michael Rooker, has been hired to kill them. So that is sort of the synopsis. I'm not going to go into it much more because I think that there's some surprises, at least to people who haven't read the comic books. And of course, that's probably still a lot of people, considering they're still fairly low key in terms of their popularity. But nevertheless, there's some surprises in store. So I'm not going to go any further. But Chase, let's break down what you thought of it first.
All right, so I will say this. I think, like, when the movie started all the way up until when the movie ended, I really kind of appreciated the fact that it didn't really skip a beat from the first one. Like, James Gunn knows this world. I believe he is one of the kings of B cinema, and that's not a bad thing. If you look at James Gunn's like previous movies with like either Slither or Super, the guy knows how to make like a really kind of cheesy and corny movie and make it work. I don't know how to describe it, but like that's how he does it with, like, you know, his humor and his characters and just the emotional depth that he has with in these Guardians. Like, he really has a grasp on these characters, which I can really appreciate and gets me excited for when he does Volume 3. For this one, I don't think like he does like I said, skip a beat. He really just kind of dives into these characters and really kind of gets into the psyches of some of them and really kind of shows us a little bit more of character depth. I think that's the one thing that people had a problem with, is that the first one is an introduction. It had a lot more action scenes. This is the middle of the trilogy, and it's going to have a lot more development. You're going to learn a little bit more backstory from these characters, which I really liked. You're going to find out about Ego the Living Planet. You're going to find out more about Peter Quill and Gamora and Nebula and Yondu and stuff, and it works for the better. And I don't understand where people had a problem with the type of, like, it was almost like a shift for this movie, because it wasn't really primarily focused on the action. It was primarily focused on the characters and why we love them so much. Now, I told my roommate this when we walked out of it, and I will say it here, the overall movie that James Gunn does portray is like the Forrest Gump run, where it's a little rocky at first. It kind of flies all over the place and kind of has that Rogue One syndrome where it goes from like planet to planet to planet to planet every 2 minutes. But then it finds its footing and really kind of ends strongly. And I thought the ending was absolutely perfect for this type of film. So a little rocky at first, but really kind of like led up into this great moment that I really kind of enjoyed, and I really appreciate the fact that they cut off on that moment. But I really love the world that James Gunn kind of establishes. I love the colors and how they pop up, and the vibrancy and the energy that comes from the directing and the humor and stuff. It really just kind of makes you fully invested into this story and be entertained at the same time. So, Joel, did you really appreciate the story in this one versus the first one? Because I will say this. The first one was kind of predictable. This one was very unpredictable. And that's what I really kind of appreciated the most, was that I had no idea where the fuck this movie was going. And that's what made it the more fun for me. So was the story was competent? How did it compare to the first?
Well, it's weird. So we, in one sense, I think we kind of are on the opposite here. Because I think that this movie starts stronger than it ends.
Okay.
I'm not talking about the last scene. I mean just the general trajectory. Because I think it does actually, like, literally end on the right note. But I mean the whole third act. For me, what I tire of with these movies, and it's not going to change because of the fan base, but nevertheless, what I tire of with these movies is the fact that these seem to need to end with some sort of villain confrontation, and that's the same thing here. That's the major problem that I had with the first one, is that it was one of the weaker villains in the MCU. And, of course, they have to fight him at the end. That's sort of what kills a lot of these movies for me, even some of the good ones. For this one, though, I think that it was at its best when it was focused on the characters. Because in here, you have the characters finding themselves confronting certain things. Maybe with the exception of Groot. He doesn't really confront things. He's adorable in this movie. He's baby Groot. He's a tiny little sapling. But with the other characters, they are confronting things. Drax is still confronting the fact that, he has no family. You have Peter Quill confronting his father, who's not been in his life for any of it, basically. You have Gamora's kind of confronting her own little adoptive family and that problem. And Rocket's confronting his own, sense of cynicism that has risen out of his existence. And you even get some context regarding some of the side characters, like Yondu. I think gets a lot more to do this time, and it comes out of a sincere place of genuinely trying to, build his character, who is actually, I think, the most interesting character here in this movie, at least. And Michael Rooker gives the best performance in the movie, I think. And it's just this really funny comedy too. You have the opening scene that's set to Electric Light Orchestra, and the soundtrack's all great. It's really funny. And even during the climax, I felt like there was a lot of character moments that really worked. There's an extended conversation about the need of tape that almost had me rolling on the floor. It's absolutely hilarious, because most of it takes place off screen, and that power of suggestion is really successful in comedy. And anyway, I think it works best as a comedy, and it very much is one. The first one was too, but I think that both movies do suffer from the same problem. I think that this one a little less, and that's when the plot has to kick in. With the first one, I think a lot of people probably don't even remember the plot, because they remember, the characters who were introduced. but it had a lot to do with an Infinity Stone that made no sense whatsoever at all to anybody who's not familiar with this stuff. And it focused a lot on the properties of that Infinity Stone and on the villain's plot to, destroy the universe. Here, there are a couple of plot threads, and when they come together and they're focused on, I think that's when the movie's least interesting, and that's specifically in the climax. But nevertheless, it's a good movie, and I think that's because of its focus on characters in the first two-thirds. There's a lot here that really works. I think the Gunn's screenplay it considers them as characters this time around. I think his screenplay with Nicole Perlman for the first one only did that to a point. I think that at a certain point they became a unit, and that's when they became less interesting and a little bit interchangeable, to be honest. But here there are clear gradations between them. They are their own characters, and I think that the decision to split them up was a smart one because it allows us to consider them on their own for some time, and then they come back together, and once again they're a unit. Although I think that the stakes are shifted in let's just say one character's direction, and so I think that it works as a comedy really well, and it works as a spectacle too. The special effects in this movie are unreal, but when it does go into familiar places, I think that it stumbles there at the end. I think that I actually didn't feel that it was unpredictable at all. I figured that a certain character would take a shift toward villainy, and I figured that it would kind of go that way once that happened. I kind of predicted the direction that it went. But nevertheless, there are surprises in the story, nevertheless, and that's why I didn't want to reveal a lot. So anyway, it's a good movie. It's a good movie. So
yeah, I mean, and I mean this in the best way possible. Like, James Gunn has created the most successful B space movie I've ever seen, and that's just because the special effects. They're so very. They look like Plan 9 from outer space type of looks. It looks like his movie from Slither and whatnot. I really kind of appreciate the visual aesthetic that he's trying to bring to these films and really make them stand on his own. Because the thing I really like about the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise is that yes, they have this micro thread tying them to the Earthbound universe with the Avengers, but the Guardians could actually do their own separate thing and get away with it. I love the fact that we went to these different planets and stuff, and we get to see the different environments and the different creature creations, and it really kind of immerses you into this world. And I think once you can kind of get into the world, you can get into the characters a lot more. And you're right, when they separate as a group in the movie, we get to kind of focus in on a little bit more on each character and really start to kind of feel for them. And I really kind of appreciate that. Like I said, with a movie that has a talking raccoon and a little baby twig, basically, it's amazing how much emotion can kind of come from it while still looking cheesy and accessible at the same time. It's a very weird combination type of movie, but it works. It works for the general going audience, and it definitely works for people like Joel and I. And that's okay. You disagree on the whole unpredictability thing. I like the way both of these movies are structured, to where something happens and it's something that transfers to point B, and then that thing transfers to point C, and it goes all over the place and kind of explores this galaxy, but I never feel like it kind of jumps around too much. Now, like I said, it was a little rocky at the beginning because it was kind of jumping from place to place with all these different people that we have come to love, and it seemed a little jumbled. I'm not saying that by a lot, but it seemed a little bit. But like I said, once it kind of found its footing, it really kind of knew what it wanted to be, which is really great on their end. I think the acting is all top notch. I think Chris Pratt definitely has a lot more emotional sequences in this one than the first one, which is really great for his character, considering the fact of what he discovers in this. I thought Zoe Saldana was fine as Gamora. I thought Nebula, Karen Gillan, who plays her sister in the film, I think she had a lot more kind of emotional drawback than Gamora did, because of all the pain and suffering that she has gotten from her father Thanos. I will say this, and I don't care if people disagree with me. I think Rocky Raccoon is one of Bradley Cooper's best performances. It just is. He really kind of gets into that asshole-ish Cockney accent. He really gets into the character just from his voice, and I really kind of appreciate that. Michael Rooker as Yondu was amazing, and the purpose behind his character was really great, and how it kind of ties in with certain members of the crew and whatnot, which actually makes him more important in the universe overall. Let's see, Dave Bautista as Drax. I will say that his humor is spot on for about 90% of the time. The other 10%, while I do agree that yes, he is an alien, he doesn't get things like sarcasm and subtlety and all that stuff, and so that makes his dialogue at its funniest. I get that. But there were a couple times where he was a little too jokey, and the jokes did not land. Like I said, I would say about 90% of the time, everything that came out of his mouth, whether it be, good-willed and good-intentioned, or, funny and sarcastic, that's, most of it was fine. But some of the
anatomy-based joke that didn't work.
Yeah, that one, stuff like that was where it kind of fell flat, and you're like, you were trying a little too hard there. Not your fault. It's okay. James Gunn told you to do that. But like I said, for the most part, I think he's really good as Drax. He's not really Drax the Destroyer in this one, because the opening battle is the only time when he's really destroying shit, which is fine, because like I said, you're the middle movie of a trilogy. You're more character-centric, not action-centric, which is fine. Let's see, who else? Newcomers, Kurt Russell, was great. Charming as hell. I would date that man. Goldie Hawn, step out of the way. Go on your Snatch tour. I'm going to go date your husband for a while. Sylvester Stallone was really great as well, and he's in a few scenes, and I was like, oh no, his sock accent is gonna kill the movie. I'm Rocky, I'm a fucking boxer. He's got a sock in his mouth, folks, and so I was like, oh no, is he going to enunciate properly? And he does, and I was really kind of impressed with his performance, and I can't wait to see him in future stuff, because they did not just sign on Sylvester Stallone for one movie. Come on.
From what I hear, he's an important character, so I have a feeling that he's going to be very much back.
Oh yeah, he'll definitely be more, and that's not a spoiler for you guys. That's just that's common knowledge when actors sign on to these franchises. They sign on for multiple films, and I think that's roughly it. And all the newcomers and stuff, they're good, they're serviceable, but they're not ones that you remember. Now I will say that one of the characters that involves a certain race of people, she's very important to one of the post-credit scenes. I will say that, but that's about it for that.
I thought she was good in the role. But the character is functional, basically.
Yeah, exactly. It's not one of those ones where you remember it. It's just it was functional in that role. So, Joel, what about the performances that kind of either stuck out to you or didn't really work for you?
I actually felt like a lot of them did. I thought that Dave Bautista was better in the first movie. I thought that Bradley Cooper was better in the first movie. But they were both good here. And then same thing with Zoe Saldana. Actually, I thought that she was better in the first movie.
I'll agree with you on that.
Yeah, Karen Gillan was really good in this. She has to grapple with a lot too. These are all characters grappling with things. And that's actually another thing I like. These are characters sort of in transitory periods of their life. It felt very much like a bottle episode of a TV show. It wasn't really about the stakes beyond the story, and I think that actually worked in its favor, which is not very common with this franchise right now. And so for that reason, I think that Karen Gillan was allowed to shine in this sort of side character. And then I thought Chris Pratt was great. I've always liked that guy, though. And then Kurt Russell, terrific. But my favorite was Michael Rooker. I think that he had a lot of heart in this movie. for reasons that I won't reveal. And then Sylvester Stallone, like you said, I thought that was a really good appearance from him, and it felt like he wasn't just like, oh, gotta go appear in a Marvel movie. It felt like he was actually having fun in that scene, which was a fun scene, I thought, and especially at the end, let's just say. So there's an end scene with him. We should just go ahead and mention it. There are 5 post-credit scenes.
There's 5 post-credit scenes. We will not say any more because I want you guys to experience it. But out of the 5, there are a couple that are humorous and light and funny, and then the other 2 basically set up future movies in the universe. So that's all I will say. And
I will ask you this. We won't talk specifics because we're not talking about specifically these. But I will just ask you. I am sort of alone in this. Well, not alone. I'm in the minority in this. But so I got to ask about these post/mid credit scenes. So generally speaking, what do you prefer? Do you prefer the silly ones or the ones that are setting up plot for the future?
See, I've kind of debated that because I forgot which Marvel movie it was. I believe it was Doctor Strange, where it was like the first one was the second Thor movie. The first one was connecting, and then the second one was just like a very weird throwaway one. And I kind of got perturbed at the throwaway one just because it wasn't even that funny. So I don't know. Maybe if it's funny, I'll accept it, type of deal. But I would rather have it connect, and that's why I was getting worried as the post credit scenes were going in Guardians Volume 2, because I was like, are any of these going to connect? And there were a couple of them that do. So I was like, okay, we're good. So the other ones can be like nice little things for the audience, I guess. So
yeah, so I'm the opposite. I prefer the silly ones because here's the thing. I don't and I've had a problem with it since Iron Man. I don't like this type of storytelling. And that's what it is. I know that it's sequel stinging technically, but at its core it's storytelling, and I think that they need to put that stuff in the movie. And by that I mean the actual story. So for instance, there's 2 scenes here. One, I guess, sort of makes sense to come in at the end. That involves Stallone. The other one involves another character, and it's in the middle of the credits, and it's very important because it sets up a character that I had no idea existed. I don't know who that is. But anyway,
I will teach you after we get done recording.
Okay, but you know what I'm talking about, though.
Yes.
There is a character, the functional character we were talking about is involved, and I don't like that. I don't like that because they could have easily put that scene somewhere in the proper movie. Easily put it in there, and it wouldn't have felt out of place to me. Because here's the thing. So I'll just basically put it like this. So we've seen some scenes. This is not in this movie. This is in previous ones. But we've seen some stingers involving Thanos. Of course, we got that first one where he doesn't talk. It was before Josh Brolin was playing him. That was at the end of the Avengers. Then when was the other one? Was that after Avengers Age of Ultron? Yes, it was.
Yeah.
So I think it was Avengers Age of Ultron where we see him again. Now, this is going to sound confusing to people, but is he just moving really slowly or something? Because it feels like there should have been a bit more movement between... Okay, so Avengers Age of Ultron, the timeline of that is slightly after Guardians of the Galaxy, I believe. Or possibly at the same time, I'm not sure. But nevertheless, of course, Thanos was in Guardians of the Galaxy. He was a cameo, kind of, but he was a supporting character in that narrative. In Age of Ultron, he comes in during the post-credit scene. And it feels like, to me, that in terms of the timeline, it feels like he's just moving really slowly toward his target. And that feels weird to me because it feels like from that scene at the end of Age of Ultron that he's about to open a can of action upon the Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy, all the people who are good, kind of. Yet that movie's not coming out till next year. And so it feels like in that scene that we're about to see something that we're not about to see. if that makes sense. It's like he's grabbing his glove gauntlet thing, whatever, in that scene in Age of Ultron, and then what comes next? Three more years of movies. It doesn't seem like it's organically telling a story. It just seems like it's shoving in some random thing to make you excited.
Well, and the one thing I will
it feels to me like fan service. That's and I realize there are fans to be serviced, and I understand that. I'm glad that people have fun with this stuff, but I feel like this kind of storytelling mechanism can get old. I feel like put it in as an Easter egg or put it in before the credits. I don't understand it.
It's one of those things to where you watch the movie, you sit through the credits, you get excited, you hear the music, and that last little bit, that last little nugget to kind of just throw at you, just to kind of kind of get your hopes up for the future movies. I'm actually okay with it, and I've said this since the first time I saw the post-credit scene, which was after Iron Man, but I was like, okay, whatever. It was after Thor when that post-credit scene happened, and I was like, oh, wow. What Marvel Studios is doing is playing this like a TV show, where you have your episode, you have your credits roll, and then you have here's what's coming up next on the future installments of the show type of deal. It's really never bothered me. It's just kind of just a nice little thing going, hey, this is coming type of deal, which is great because it's building up to this moment. I still remember sitting in Avengers for the first time, and if you haven't seen Avengers by now, it's been 5 years, but when that ending credit scene played, I had no fucking clue who that was. And so what this does for normal movie going audience, they kind of do research on it, and they're like, oh my god, that sounds amazing, and type of deal. I don't know, it to me it kind of gets more people involved in this type of
and see, that just screams to me that it's fan service. It's not proper storytelling, because if it was, then that scene of Thanos and the Avengers could have just led into the end title. It could have just been the last scene. It didn't need to be in the credits. And it's the same with Iron Man, really. It's the same with all of these things. But the for me at least, I feel like a proper end credit scene is something like the shawarma moment at the end of the Avengers, or something like Howard the Duck at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy, something that isn't tied to the story of the franchise, because the story of the franchise should be told in the movies. It shouldn't be told in the middle of the end credits. It seems kind of lazy to me. I feel like I'm alone in that, but anyway, it feels like.
Okay, so let me ask you this, because you know that I'm a big fan of these movies. What if Star Wars did that?
I wouldn't like that.
Like at all. So even if they had something to tie into future movies, you'd be like, no.
Yeah, I would want to be told the story while the story was being told. I wouldn't want to be, having to rely on the fact that I got to stay through the credits to see one more thing, because why didn't they just tell me during the movie what that thing was? I think that it's lazy. I wouldn't like that. And you know how much I love Star Wars. I would stay through the credits for it, I'm sure. But I'm just saying, but doing that and liking it is a different thing. I think that it is pretty much the same thing if it happened in Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, all those. I think it's lazy. I think it's just the way it's the same happened with Kong Skull Island.
Well, the Kong Skull Island thing was that was a blatant holy shit, we gotta tag this on so we let people know this is coming. I think what's really great about the kind of serious ones that kind of tie in to these types of movies is that it lets people go home and search up who these things are, and that's not a bad thing, because even me as a comic book fan, I had no idea who Thanos was, and I felt really embarrassed that I didn't know. But showing that end credit scene, and then you go back home and you look him up and you're like, oh, why are they teasing? This guy looks like he can do some damage type of deal. Like I said, I think it gets more people involved in, as I've been sitting through these movies for almost 10 years now. I remember when the first Iron Man came out and the Incredible Hulk and Thor came out, a lot of people wouldn't stay for the end credits. They'd be gone. And once word kind of catches on, and now that we've kind of seen this trend where everyone stays in the theater now, that to me is something kind of special, that there's this group of people out there, these random groups that stay there, they watch it, they turn to whoever they're with, do you know who that was? Or, or man, are you fucking excited for that? Like, I don't know. It to me, it gets more people involved, and that's why it doesn't really bother me on that storytelling aspect. So I don't know. We see it differently, but yeah. To carry on with the movie though, just to kind of wrap up my thoughts, just like with the first one, like it's so visually pleasing. I love the color palette in both of these films. It really kind of creates this unique world that really kind of separates itself from the Earthbound universe. Absolutely love just the way it looks, and even though the action sequences are very sparse throughout this one instead of the first one, they're very well handled. They're exciting, they're well edited, and they just really kind of get you pumped as you're watching. Like Joel said, the visuals are breathtaking, and they're only going to get better from here. I watched the first one just like with Joel on Saturday, and yes, the effects are good, but then 3 years later when we get to this one, it just kind of blows your mind. You're like, how the hell are these movies going to look like down the road? They're going to look like the Planet of the Apes movies where, Andy Serkis looks like a real goddamn monkey flying on the ground. So it's one of those things where, it's just going to get better from here. And I'm not going to say if this movie does it or not, but Disney, what is your obsession with taking older actors and de-aging them? Because you've done it in the past, 10 movies now. Can we just calm that down? But Joel knows what I'm talking about. But, yeah, and the music. I really love the music choices. I know a lot of people said they had an issue with this one and the sequel and how it just didn't feel natural like the first one. I thought it felt natural. Like what Joel said, that opening credit scene or opening credit sequence is hilarious because you don't really see what's going on, but the music's playing and a certain character's in the foreground just kind of doing his thing, and you're like, you're getting into it. You're getting into the vibe. You're getting into the spirit of the film. So overall, guys, I think this is a really well done sequel. A little shaky at first, got way better at the end for me, and really kind of ended on a strong note. The end credit sequences that connect do not bother me, but I'm just kidding, Joel. The performances are really well done. Really kind of adds more character to them. Can't wait for the third one. The humor works for the most part. Little off on some of the jokes and definitely falls flat, but overall, what a great fucking time at the theaters to start off the summer. I'm going to give this one my score after Joel overalls the movie.
Yeah, just one more note about the end credit scene. You made a lot of great points. I just still don't understand why they can't get that stuff for
Joel, we're always going to agree to disagree on this subject.
I know, but I'm just saying. You made great points, but I still don't understand why they can't fit that stuff in the story. Nevertheless, it's a good movie, and I think that it's just a shade better than the first one. I would have given the first one a B- if I had been on the show at that point, just because of some of the failings of the storytelling. This one's a bit more assured in that department, and I agree with the music choices. I think that they are organic. There's some here that are used for emotional purposes.
Yeah, exactly, and it works to its advantage. And I was sitting there thinking, I was like, what were these critics smoking? Like, they were just like, this music is just, it's off the wall, it doesn't make sense with the story. Yeah, it blatantly does. Like, if you look at the titles to all the songs that they use, they correlate exactly to what's going on, so I don't know what the hell was up their ass.
Absolutely. I mean, that opening scene is just, it's a joy to watch that.
It's so much fun.
I love that scene. But yeah, no, it's a fun movie, and I guess I'll give my grade after you give yours. But yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna give it the same grade I gave the first one. I'll give it a B+. The only time I'll ever go into the A category with these movies is something like Captain America: Civil War that just kind of take it up to that next level. I'm not saying that Guardians of the Galaxy Vol 2 did not do that. I'm just saying that with the first one, it's a great franchise so far, and I agree with Joel. As I'm kind of talking about it, just kind of thinking about it, I do think the sequel is just a hair better than the first one, just because there's a lot more involved, and you already know the characters at this point, so just everything they do, you become more invested in, versus like the first one where you're just starting to get to know them. So, yeah, I'll go B+ for me on this one, and B+ is usually the highest grade I will give a Marvel movie if it's really well done, and then I'll get into the A's and stuff when, like a Captain America: Civil War really kind of brings home the bacon, if you will, and really makes a great film. But Joel, what is going to be your grade? Am I going to have to yell at you too much?
No, it's a B. It's a really fun movie, and I think it's one of the stronger Marvel movies. By the way, people don't really know my history with these, but I like some, I don't like others. I think that it's very clear what some of the weak ones are. Uh, the and you're right about the fact that it's slightly better than the first one because of the characters, because you're not given the burden of having to be introduced to them. A lot of these movies struggle with that. Both the introduction of if there's like a regular person, um, the introduction of that person, then maybe the hero that's their alter ego, or something like this where they're all trying to come together or whatever. The first one did struggle with that. This one opens them up a little bit, and I think that it's more successful on that part of it. So I'm going to give it a B.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I'm going to give it that extra plus grade instead of a B because of Yondu. Like, I was actually genuinely surprised by Michael Rooker's performance and just his overall character and how important he was to a certain character in the group and whatnot. I just thought that performance was heartbreaking. It was genuine, and like he was his usual like sarcastic ashhole self, but he also, like you said, kind of had a heart to him and whatnot. And throughout the whole movie, there is a certain heart that beats throughout the movie, even amidst all this terrible stuff going on. So yeah, I really, like I said, giving that extra bump in my grade, because when you look at the first one, Yondu is fine. Like, I love Michael Rooker; he's a very entertaining actor. But he was serviceable. He was like, okay, he's the head Ravager. He trained Peter Quill into thief for him and whatnot, and he's just kind of doing his thing, man. But this really kind of added that extra flavor to him and that extra depth that I really fucking enjoyed. And I cannot wait for the third one, Vol 3. Give it to me, baby. So, what did you guys think of Guardians of the Galaxy Vol 2? Comment in the place for my face and let Joel and I know. Because it seems like Joel and I agree similarly on this. Because as Joel said, Joel is not the comic book aficionado like I am. Joel is the Star Wars aficionado, which means he will go apeshit and cry tears of joy in his pants when December rolls around. Anyways, speaking of Guardians of the Galaxy Vol 2, I am doing the box office results this week, which means Joel will have to guess. Now, Joel, I know what you're thinking, and the Smurfs The Lost Village might have gotten number one. It might have snuck in there, so just be forewarned that might be a hint. So Joel is going to guess the top five. Joel, take it away.
Okay, this is going to be tricky because last weekend was a surprise. 3 movies I didn't think would make it into the top 5 made it into the top 5. So it's kind of tricky because I feel like some of those did repeat business, fairly well. All right, I'm thinking here for a second. Sorry. I'm going to say that maybe at number 5, was How to Be a Latin Lover.
Okay.
Number 4 was that breakout Indian movie, Bahubali 2, whatever the conclusion or the connection or whatever the thing was, which I've heard is really good, actually. I plan to maybe see that. Number 3. No. Okay. I'm going to start over because I really don't know where I'm going here. But I'm going to say maybe something from March or something kind of slipped in there. So out of nowhere, I'm just going to switch my number 5 with The Boss Baby. I'm going to say that maybe slipped back in. Maybe. I have no idea. Then number 4, perhaps, is How to Be a Latin Lover. Number 3, Bahubali 2. Number 2 is still Fate of the Furious. And then number 1, with Vin Diesel kind of owning the weekend, is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Joel has gotten 3 out of the 5 right.
Okay.
It's very interesting to see this kind of drop, but I will start with number 7, actually. Bahubali 2 actually came in at number 7 with 3.2 million. It fell almost 70%. So everyone that wanted to watch the movie, they saw it last weekend, folks, and then, it's just kind of, it's lingering on right now. The Circle actually beat that with 4.02 million. Number 5, Beauty and the Beast with 4.9 million. Right now, it has made Disney an assload of money, which is what they need because Guardians of the Galaxy was going to fail, so they need another movie to support it. Domestic is made almost 500 million. It's at 487, which is the U.S. and Canada. Worldwide, it's at $1.185 billion. Fuck me sideways. And the budget is 160, double that to 320. Add the PA and marketing. I'm going to say they probably needed a good 400 million to break even. Yeah, they did that twofold, son. So they're good. They ain't going to lose money. Number 4, Joel got his first one correct. How to Be a Latin Lover with 5.2 million. It's doing very well for Lionsgate. Its budget is unknown, but domestically it's made 20 million, which is probably how much it costs. So, with streaming and all that stuff, it'll make money in the long run. Number 3 is Joel and I's favorite theater experience thus far, which Alien Covenant is going to go nowhere up against us because The Boss Baby is number 3 with 6.1 million. This movie's making an ass load. Domestically, it's at 156, and worldwide, it's at 434. Oh my God. Welcome to America, folks. Number 2, Joel got another one right. Fate of the Furious, 8.5 million. It's doing very well. And little tidbit. The Fate of the Furious cost $50 million more than Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 with all of those set designs. So keep that in mind. Fate of the Furious, $250 million. Budget. Domestic, it's at 207. Worldwide, it's pretty much creeping up on Beauty and the Beast with 1.158. So, yeah. I like Fate of the Furious. I gave him the same grade for all of them. Joel scoffs and doesn't look at me correctly when I say that. But number 1 is GOTG Vol 2 with Joel. Would you like to guess how much you made opening weekend?
Well, actually, I kind of know because I accidentally saw the total. It's 145, right?
Oh, God, fuck. All right. Yes, Joel got it correct. So anyways.
I wasn't intentionally looking.
Oh, man. All right. Guardians of the Galaxy Vol 2 made $145 million opening stateside, which is great because they opened up overseas last weekend. And right now, total worldwide, it's at $427. Its budget is $200 million. So double that with the marketing and all that stuff. I'm going to say about $500 million to break even. They'll do that by Monday. So they'll do just fine. And cannot wait to see Volume 3, or excuse me, Vol 3. And that's really great for that because the first one actually opened up with $90 million, so that is a humongous bump for the sequel. Apparently people like talking mutated raccoons and little baby Groots. But who doesn't, right? Noted a couple other kind of new releases that came out. The Dinner, which Joel actually reviewed, that's going to be on his site. Check that out, and the site that we both work for. It opened up at 13th place with $755,000. Good for it, I guess. Also, another film that opened up in theaters, Risk, opened up at $75,000 in 34 theaters. And the new A24 film, The Lovers, opened up in 4 theaters with $70,000. So that's a little better. Also, another movie that opened up, Chuck, which is the Liev Schreiber movie, boxer loosely based on the Rocky Balboa story. I'm seeing that tomorrow, actually. $40,000, 4 theaters. Not good. It gets worse. Number 38, Three Generations, the Elle Fanning, Naomi Watts movie, which looks really great. $20,000 for 6 theaters. So it got worse and worse as I kept reading it. So that is your box office numbers for the weekend. And guys, that will do it for this week's show. Next week, episode 182. Joel, what are we doing?
Well, the big movie of the week is King Arthur, Legend of the Sword. We'll be joint reviewing that one. And then I'll be reviewing The Wall, which is the new John Cena thriller. I'm seeing that one tomorrow. And then you'll be reviewing Snatched, correct? So you're seeing that on Tuesday. And so it'll be a packed show.
It's going to be probably the most diverse weekend that Joel and I have ever done together so far, because we're doing a very 300-esque King Arthur movie. We're doing a Goldie Hawn Lost on Set movie, and we're doing an Aaron Taylor Johnson kind of acts against John Cena type of war film. So what a weird fucking weekend. And who knows? There might be some surprises. Maybe Goldie Hawn gets lost and she ends up in my room, and we can have her on the podcast. So that will be next weekend for episode 182. But for this week, Joel, where can the people find you online?
Well, you can find me at my own website, which is joelonfilm.com. You can find my writing also on dallasmoviescreenings.com, podcastingthemsoftly.com on occasion. And then Twitter is at Copling_Joel. I'm on Letterboxd at jcopling. Trying to think. Yeah, that's it.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought there was going to be something a little bit more epic than that, but all right. So my Twitter is Real Chasely. YouTube Shabutnik 75, I believe, is the URL. It's Real Chasely as my real name, whatever. But all the links will be in the description below. And remember, guys, please follow, like, subscribe, spread it around, comment on Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, and SoundCloud. It helps out a lot. Please spread this around. Let people know it's a decent podcast. If you're taking a dump for 2 hours because you had some Chipotle or something, please listen to the show. I think you'll really enjoy it. And hey, listen, if you made it through this entire movie podcast and you're not a movie fan, well, hopefully Joel and I convinced you to be one. This is episode 181 of the Real Me and Cole in the Movie Podcast. The intro and outro music is done by my friends band Fervent Roze. All the links in the description below. Check them out. Speaking of them, let's play out, motherfuckers. See you guys next week for... Oh, Snatch. God damn it. All right, bye.